To begin with, let me just talk about Kevin's Law, which is we went with this film to Washington and screened for FDA, USDA, Secretary of Agriculture. It was strange sitting in a room realizing you're saying a lot of these things and these people are watching. All of a sudden you hear it rather differently when they're all in the room. But one is it's great that they had us bring the film. So it's certainly a different climate in the last few months than it was a bunch of years ago. So there seems to be an openness there, though it's not easy. It's still going to be very hard to change. There's a lot of invested interest. But one of the things that we were told is if there's a movement, Congress is going to follow. And one of Eric Schlosser responded that you don't need a movement for food safety because like that hamburger meat that Kevin ate matched sort of tainted meat with E. coli, and that sat on the shelves for 12 days after he died because the government does not have power to pull that meat off the shelf. And that's true today. It's been 8 years they've been trying to pass Kevin's Law, or I think it's 8 years. It looks now like the FDA, which does not control meat, will gain control to recall products. Looks like that might happen this year. And if that happens, I think then the USDA will follow, which controls hamburger meat. So I think it's really, if you go to takepart.com, there are initiatives that will give specific groups to go to that you can look up and see how to take part. And I think we just have to figure out how to become more vocal to let people know that we care, and then figure out which group you want to follow, whether it's slow food or whether it's certain safety groups. Again, takepart.com will give you numbers of options of groups that you might want to become involved with. So I think it's really important. The first question is, was there any legal implications from Monsanto? Did they come after me? And they did not. I was scared of an injunction. That didn't happen. There have been no lawsuits. There have been a number of websites specifically designed to attack Food Inc. Monsanto has done one or two. Tyson has sponsored some, and numbers of companies have sponsored websites attacking our film. But no lawsuits. And at this point, they're not going to, I hope they're not going to happen. How have I changed my eating habits? The hardest part is I've been traveling a lot with this film. And as I travel and you're in an airport, you all of a sudden, you look around and you go, oh my gosh, maybe there's a banana you can eat. And I'm one of those people, what you realize is we're genetically designed to eat this sugar and this salt and all this stuff, and I'm one of those guys who crumbles when I see it and I want it. I don't have that much willpower. But it's really hard to be looking at some of that food and you just realize it's purely going to get you. So it's like, how do you redesign, and you have to figure out how to do better. At home, we go to the farmers markets religiously now, and we're getting wonderful food, and it tastes better, and it's better for you. But it's harder when you're traveling. And go to your Krugers, by the way, and ask them and say, we want better food. And if all of you start to go, they begin to realize something's happening. And Walmart didn't take the RBST milk off the shelves, and when they stopped selling it, by the way, Monsanto sold that company, and that was announced that day at that farm. So we were stunned that had happened, and they only did it because of all of us. So we can help change things, though we also have to change it on the policy level. The film was in very wide release. We're actually in the top 20 documentaries of all time at this moment. It comes out on video on November 3rd, so it'll be all over, and actually it'll be on my website, robertkennerfilms.com, but it'll be on Amazon, it'll be at Netflix, and Netflix wrote me and said they're going to do everything to promote it as much as possible. And then we'll be on PBS in April. But it's on video on demand at the moment, and we're still in theaters. Basically talking about how, isn't it amazing that companies and products have more rights than we as individuals. And, you know, ultimately, to me, this became a film about the power, this out-of-control power of these corporations. And, you know, really, in a funny way, it becomes more about that than it does about food. When I was with Eric in Sacramento and that, talking about whether we should label cloned meat, and that woman said, you know, I think it would be too confusing to the consumer to give them that kind of information, and realizing that is happening time and time again, whether it's GMOs or trans fats or country of origin. You know, I could spend 20 minutes here listening to things that they don't want you to know about. And I think if we live in a free society and we live in a free market, shouldn't we have the right to know what we're buying? And the fact that we're being denied that, to me, was the most outrageous thing that I came across in this film. Am I doing a follow-up film? I hate to make films on the same subjects twice. So, no. Just saying, I don't know if you heard it in the back, but what incredible impact this has had on sort of healthcare. And that in my mind, we can't solve the healthcare problem until we can solve the food problem. And I think ultimately, actually, I finished this film a little over a year ago, and I was concerned that the timing might be wrong if we waited too long. But when the healthcare bill came up, it seemed to become more and more relevant. I mean, the fact that 1 out of every 3 Americans born after the year 2000 will have early onset diabetes is going to bankrupt this country. So this cheap food is going to become way too expensive. I've spent time with David Kessler, who was appointed under George Bush Sr., who was head of the FDA, and he wrote a book, oh boy, I'm blanking on the name, but basically how this food is killing us because of the salt and sugar, and it's just absolutely designed to make you addicted to it, and it's no different than nicotine. The processed food, the fast food, all the middle rows of the supermarket, everything but the outer rows. So, you know, it's like, what it is becoming conscious and learning to see it, because it's something that I hadn't thought about 3 years ago. So it's all of a sudden, I mean, we knew, I was originally going to make a film based on Eric Schlosser's book, Fast Food Nation, and I thought Super Size Me had been made, and people thought that was the same film, and I thought, okay, we all know fast food's not good, but the fact is, fast food has basically taken over the entire supermarket. And, you know, we just have to look at it with different eyes, and we have to start convincing our friends and our family how to change it. One of the things I actually censored myself on, and which Purdue came back to us at Carol Morrison's. They refused to talk to us, but we had told them what she had said, and they said, we took a line, they had said, we don't use arsenic in the feed. 3 weeks before, they had defended using arsenic in the feed. And I asked them, you know, how can you defend it? And they said, well, we stopped using it the day she was speaking. And we've taken it out the day she was speaking. And I'm thinking, okay. So I ended up taking it out of the film because there was so much information, you can only take in so much. But here is a company that was defending the use of arsenic. There is tons of stuff in that food. The antibiotic use, we could just go on and on. So ultimately, my basic reaction after watching or being part of this is that I really will do everything possible to not eat industrial food. And I want to eat fair food, food that's, you know, basically not going to harm the environment, that's fair to the workers who are making it. And it's fair to us, you know, that's eating it. So anything we can do to support that will, I think, help make this a better country. So thank you so much for coming out.